What's up, everyone? Coming to you live from the Henry Ford McCollum Hospital parking lot, as you might have just seen. It's the first day of our 6-week clinical, and this one's supposed to be like we actually, do stuff, not as much observation like the past few we've done. It's about 45 minutes from my house, and general wisdom says that when you drive south towards Detroit, that you should expect to hit traffic. And so I gave myself an hour and a half, especially because it's the first day. But yeah, hit traffic around Clarkson, got snagged up for maybe 5 minutes, and then nothing. Also was expecting traffic because I was down here around like a few weeks ago, and there was pretty bad construction on Hall Road they're doing over here. None of that either. And so what ended up happening is 7:45. I've been sitting in the parking lot for maybe 10-15 minutes now. We're supposed to start at 8:30, and if you know anything about me, like one of my biggest pet peeves, it's completely irrational, I get it, doesn't make any sense, but I hate being early. Like, I hate it so much. And here I am, very early. Granted, I don't know where I'm supposed to be in this hospital. I mean, I can't imagine it's that hard to find. Got a little bit of paperwork to do. Honestly, I don't even think I'm parked in the right spot because I'm very close to the building, and I'm probably not supposed to be. This is probably general patient parking, but I have no idea what else to do. I don't see any stickers or permits or anything, so I probably won't get a ticket. Alright, update. It's about 8 o'clock now. Getting ready to go in. Just gonna get hype really quick. Okay, let's go. Took me 2 minutes to find physical therapy. It's now 8:06.
Yeah, I was just babbling on here about a bunch of stupid stuff, but basically I wasn't able to film anything really over the 6 weeks because it's a hospital, besides for what we needed to do for a class project, which you'll see in the following clips. The assignment was to document 2 patients for a case study and track their progression over time. The first patient my CI and I chose was a bilateral knee replacement, and the second was a stroke. It's worth noting that both patients signed a video consent form before participating, and I let them know that I would probably use the video for my YouTube channel. We're supposed to use outcome measures to track their progress, and I used the 5-time sit to stand, timed up and go, and 2-minute walk test. You'll see that I sped up the video for the sake of time, but hopefully you can still see the differences between the days. I only had 2 days of video for each patient, but we actually took 3 days worth of data, and they, for the most part, progressed as expected. So here's his first day of 5-time sit to stand. You can see he needs to use that bar in front of him for support versus the next video clip. He's doing a lot faster just using the chair. Here's his timed up and go. I'm explaining, giving the directions, and there he goes. Not bad. Still a little labored versus here. A lot more fluid motion. Second patient with the stroke. Struggling on that rep of this 5-time sit to stand. And we see her again a little bit later. Not getting stuck like she was before. Here's her timed up and go. Kind of unstable, taking pauses. Okay. And then here's her next attempt. Much more stable, fewer pauses, better transition at the end.
So I just wanted to close this video out now with some of my honest thoughts and opinions on the acute care setting based on my first full-time 6-week clinical in the acute care setting, and just based off of what I've talked about with other classmates who are in acute care. Our last day of clinical was December 15th, and today is January 30th, so obviously a little behind. But on top of getting distracted by holidays and all that, I also want to be very careful, making sure I articulated everything very carefully here. So if it looks like I'm reading off of something, say my computer screen, It's because I am. So first off, I want to say thank you to Henry Ford Hospital. I was at the Macomb campus, and everyone there was very welcoming, was open to answering any questions I had, was very friendly and just helpful. My clinical instructor, Mike, was an excellent mentor from which I learned a great deal, especially about documentation. It's cool to see how documentation in practice is different than the documentation we're learning now in the classroom. It was also cool to see the members of the treatment team work together. It just gave me a greater appreciation for the effect PT can have in just a few days, because in acute care, you see them for maybe 3-ish times before they go off to subacute rehab or inpatient or just discharge them home. So you don't really get to spend a lot of time with them, and I wasn't really sure how much we would be able to do with that, but I definitely understand the merits of it now. In particular, Mike and I spent a lot of our time on the cardiac and ICU floors. So like I said, in the acute care setting, there's a lot of turnover, and so that was great in that nearly day we had at least one new patient on our caseload, and we saw a wide variety of conditions. But while that was great, I couldn't help but feel our treatment regimen was almost the same. 4 things almost every time. Take a history if there's an evaluation, vitals and strength screening before we start getting them up and moving the patient as their condition permits. You know, sometimes it was only getting them up sitting in bed, other times we could take them out and walk in the hall. It would depend on each person. And then closing out with therapeutic exercises, which most often were like ankle pumps, seated leg extensions, seated marches, quick things you could do in the room. Of course, little tweaks could be made here and there to accommodate each patient's specific limitations, but overall, I'd say the template was largely the same. In fairness, it's expected that in the acute care setting, especially in the ICU, that the patients are inherently going to be more debilitated, and so you can't do as much. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the hospital. But still, I found the day-to-day evaluation and treatment session monotonous at times, and didn't really give me or any of the therapists really a lot of opportunity to think critically or creatively. Another thing I knew about going into acute care was that I personally was going to have a lot of trouble dealing with body fluids, because nearly every day I came away with at least one memorable moment, usually with body fluids, and some were more gross than others. So what I'm going to do, I wrote them all down because I knew I was going to be doing a video about this. So I'm going to do a quick, rapid-fire breakdown of some of the best ones I have. Day 1. The patient you're about to go see is a puncher and a biter. Okay. Mike walks into the patient's room. Go F yourself. The odor of cellulitis and C. diff. Will not forget it. Ow, don't move me like that. Ow, my swollen nuts. Get out of my room. That badge looks fake. You're not really the hospital PT. I have 12 badges that look like that at home. Watch out for that patient. Last night she tried to throw her walker out the window. Nurse comes in to clean up a urine incident. Changes gown sheets, doesn't change his socks, doesn't tell anybody. I go in to screen his ankle plantar flexion strength, and I get a handful of pea sac. And it was that day I learned to always wear gloves before you touch the patient. Again, dealing with cellulitis. Flipped the patient over to try to change his linens, and surprise, all down his backside. Just everything, all of it, just all of it. It didn't smell though, so I guess that's a step in that direction. I was helping a lady after a knee replacement, and I made a joke about making exercises harder, and she smacked me in the face. Yes, you did. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. Normally when we leave a patient, we put the footrest up so they stay there and they don't slip down. This day we did not do that. And the nurse finds him slumped over in his chair, goes to pick him up, knocks over his colostomy bag she didn't know he had, it spilled onto her white mesh running shoes and through her socks. Yeah. Nope. A&O questions. Where are you right now? I am giving birth to an alien. Patient was close to being discharged and wanted to show me how ready he was and capable he was of going home. Go to walk him in the hall, takes off on me, yells to one of the visitors in the hospital, "Are you single? I'm looking for a daughter-in-law." Saw a patient who had subcutaneous emphysema, which is where there's fluid or air under the skin. Stood him up, and he says, "Wait, stop, something's coming out my ass," as a clear puddle is gathering around his new socks that I just put on and the floor. Called the nurse in, still don't have any idea what that was. Walked in on a patient using a bedpan, quickly ran out of the room. Some of the other staff members went in, looked at it, and I overheard them say that what was deposited in the bedpan, number 2, reminded them of a baby elephant. There was one patient who didn't really want to work with us, and he said it's because he didn't feel like doing his taxes right now. Last day of clinical, pretty unsteady patient walked to the bathroom with his walker, told me he didn't need the walker, threw it to the side, tried to adjust his brief to stand and use the toilet. Didn't really get it out all the way, and so pee shot every which way in the bathroom, all over the walls, everything straight down to his socks too, which again I had just changed. And the urine was bloody, so it looked exactly like a murder scene. And by some miracle, he didn't get my feet. I had like that. My feet were as far away as possible. It's a miracle I didn't get peed on. Actually, it's a miracle I didn't get peed on the entire time. True story. Very close, didn't happen. So that's the end of my rapid fire. I know during those I probably looked pretty annoyed and mad, irritated and all that, which at the time I probably was mostly grossed out too. But looking back, it's kind of funny, fond memory. I'll never forget, that's for sure. And I definitely had way better stories than anyone else in outpatient or any other setting. So good stuff. So just the last thing, I had 3 main take-home messages from my time at Henry Ford. Number 1 being that cigarettes mess you up. Don't do it. I've never smoked a day in my life, but if I ever wanted to convince someone not to, all I need to do is walk them down that hallway in the cardiac floor. Because the hacking, coughing, wheezing, sputum, and overall inability to function was everywhere, and the common factor I saw in all of their charts was a history of cigarette smoking. Some longer than others, but either way, it still happened. I had to look away whenever a patient needed to use the suction hose to clean their airway. So the black secretions going right up that hose. And I know for a fact that that will never happen to me. Number 2, people can say that appearances don't matter, but the fact is they do. On several occasions, we'd hear from nurses or from patients themselves saying that they didn't want to get up or allow a female nurse, PT, OT, to transfer them because they felt that that woman was too small or too weak to support them. I specifically remember 2 guys saying that they insisted that one of the 2 male therapists, being me or Mike, be the only ones to help them move. There was even one patient who said, he was a little on the heavy side himself, said that I should get help from Mike. He's about 6'2", 200 something. I'm 5'8", 170 something. He said I should get help because I was too scrawny. It's hardly the case, for the record. I could have easily done it myself. But the patient was judging on what he saw at first glance. And so my takeaway here is to be not let your school or job or whatever keep you out of the gym, because besides the obvious health reasons and benefits, it's clear to me that the appearance of being strong and fit was reassuring to the patient and made them more confident in doing and trying challenging things where they might fall because they trusted that I could catch them, or that me or Mike could catch them. For some patients, that still might not be enough, but in my opinion, anything you can do to build credibility before even touching them, just walking in the door and them seeing you, is definitely worth it. Maybe 2018, but people definitely still judge books by their covers. And finally, number 3, nurses and nurses' aides do not get paid enough for the disgusting stuff they have to deal with, including that murder scene. I was not prepared to deal with that, and luckily the nurse's aide stepped right in, did her thing. Props to her. I told my mom that, because she's a nurse, the first day of my rotation, and she just laughed. So yeah, I was finishing up my video on my clinical today, and since you just came from work, what was your reaction to me saying that, like, the stuff I saw was gross on the cardiac floor and what the nurses had to deal with?
What was my reaction?
Yeah.
I just thought you need to grow up a little bit. That's what happens in hospitals.
Grow up a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think happens in a hospital?
Well,
People are sick, people have bodily functions, and it happens.
well, now we know.
Now we know.
Because the stuff I was talking about, she sees on a daily basis for over 30 years now. I don't know how they do it, but I'm very thankful for them because I would not be able to handle that. We would help the nurses where we could, you know, like picking the patient up and like allowing them to get access to certain areas they needed to, but dealing with the obvious grossness that comes to the territory, dealing with families, and just difficult patients in general, all hours of the day and night, is something I cannot be paid enough to do. I hope my take on the acute care setting can be helpful for anyone going on a clinical rotation or just doesn't know what hospital acute care physical therapy entails. Like I mentioned before, my experience was limited to only 6 weeks. It's my first full-time one, and I was seeing it through the perspective of a second-year PT student. I'm sure things differ between hospitals, and in no way am I saying that working in the acute care setting isn't as challenging or rewarding, but I'm just fairly confident for me that that is not where I want to end up. That's not a knock on Henry Ford, not a knock on any of the therapists there, but I just don't think it's going to be for me. In general, this clinical experience was very educational and was a fun switch up from our normal didactic classwork. I mean, we got to see what adulting is like and go home and not have to study or do homework. It's great. And I'm very much looking forward to the next one, which will be 10 weeks long. Yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.